snare to us. Let the people go so that they may worship the Lord their God. Do you not yet realize that Egypt is in ruin? This is his people. So Moses and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh to worship the Lord your God. He says, "But tell me, who will be going?" Moses answered, "We will go with our young and our old and our sons and our daughters and with our flocks and the herds, because we celebrate a festival to the Lord." Pharaoh said, "The Lord be with you. If I let you go along with your women and children, clearly you are bent on evil. No, you can only have the man go and worship the Lord, since that is what you've been asking for." Then Moses and Aaron were driven out from Pharaoh's presence. And the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over Egypt so that the locust swarms over the land and devours everything that grows in the field, everything left by the hail." So Moses stretched forth his staff over Egypt. And the Lord made him the east wind blow across the land. And all that day and all that night, by morning, the wind had brought the locusts. They invaded Egypt and settled down in every area of the country in great numbers. Never before have such a plague of locusts, nor has it ever been there again. They covered the ground until it was black. They devoured everything that was left after the hail. Everything grown in the fields, fruit on the trees, nothing green remained on a tree or a plant in the land of Egypt. Pharaoh quickly summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Now please forgive my sin, and would you please pray to the Lord God and take this deadly plague away from me." Now this is the first time Pharaoh has ever said, "I have sinned," because he was so prideful and he was so arrogant, he didn't trust that God was really doing all these plagues. Okay, so that's the first time. So Moses then left Pharaoh and prayed to the Lord. And the Lord changed the wind and a very strong west wind, which caught up all the locusts and carried them into the Red Sea. Not one locust was left anywhere in Egypt, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart again, and he would not let the Israelites go. So what was the reason why he wanted, what was Pharaoh's stipulation?
All the women
and children could not go. Why?
Because they thought that meant they were doing something evil?
No, Pharaoh would not let the women go because he's afraid that all the people were going to leave.
Oh, okay.
So that's why the women and children, he was still in control. Who was in control of this situation, God or the Pharaoh? God. And that sort of brings me to the end times. All these earthquakes and all these tsunamis and all these things happening.
Tsunamis, the T is silent.
The fires that are happening in the United States of America. All these things are happening and around the world, and all these floods are happening. Those are end time predictions. So we need to understand what time we're living in, the end times. Jesus is coming back for his people. So that's why I want you all to be ready to know what the scriptures say, because we're running out of time, and I'm not playing games with you about that. We all need to have our hearts right before God so that we don't get left behind. If we miss the rapture, you don't want to live in that time period, okay? Okay, so now, you doing the next one?
Mark?
Verse 21?
In the first one?
Yeah. In 10:21. Wait a minute.
10,
I don't.
21.
I need to.
Okay.
10, 21. Then the Lord, or do we already read that?
No, you didn't.
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hands towards heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, darkness which may even be felt."
Okay, so one thing. This, are you still taping me? Okay. The thing about this darkness, the second plague, it was so heavy that you could feel it. I mean, it was so black you couldn't see in front of your face. It was almost like you were blind. Okay? Okay, go ahead.
So Moses stretched out his hand towards heaven and there was thick
Mm-hmm.
darkness
Yeah.
in all the land of Egypt their days.
3 days.
3 days.
They did not see one another
Or move about.
near Norid neared
Norid, Norid.
nor anyone
Yeah, they couldn't see people in
Rise
front of their faces.
from his place for 3 days, but all the children of Israel
Yeah.
had light in their
Homes.
DWELL dwellings.
Okay.
Then PHARAOH called to Moses and
Pharaoh.
Then Pharaoh called to Moses and said, "Go save the Lord.
Go worship.
Only let your flocks
Mm-hmm.
in your hands be kept back. Let your little ones also go with you."
So the women and the children were now allowed to go with Pharaoh.
Yep.
But now he doesn't want them to take their flocks. Who's still in control?
God?
No.
And who thinks
yeah.
he's in control?
The Pharaoh thinks he's in control.
God.
See, he's making the stipulations. Okay, you can take your women and children, but you're not taking your flocks. They can't escape without their flocks because they need their flocks to be able to eat.
Yep.
So again, Pharaoh thinks he's in control, but we all know that he's not in control.
Yep.
Okay? Okay, go on, Bobby Joe.
But Moses said, "You must also give us
Sacrifices,
sacrifices and
burnt
burnt
offerings
offering,
to present.
that you may sacrifice current to the Lord of God."
So basically, they
sorry.
needed to take the animals to sacrifice for their sin. Okay? Because honestly, God's not going to listen to them unless they have sacrifices. So they were going out to worship God, but they needed sacrifices. So here's Pharaoh saying, "Nope, you can't take your animals with you." And he's explaining, "Hey, we need the animals so we can sacrifice and worship our God," right? Because that
Yeah.
was required of them. And Pharaoh says what? The Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and what happens?
"Our livestock also shall go with us, not a half shall, but left behind, for we must take some of them to serve the Lord or our God. And even we did not know with what we must serve the Lord until we arrive there. But the Lord
Hardened
hardened
Pharaoh's heart.
Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let them go. Then
What did Pharaoh say to Moses?
Pharaoh said to him, "Get away from me. Take heed.
Yeah, take heed.
Take heed to yourself, and see my face no more. For in the days you see my face, you shall die."
Mm-hmm.
So Moses said, You have spoken well. I will never see your face again.
So, okay, now, Laylee, go ahead and do the plague of the firstborn.
Okay. That's chapter 11, right?
Yes.
Now the Pharaoh said to Moses, hold on a second. One of y'all are going to have to do this.
Okay. Okay.
Alright, you ready? You got it?
Yep.
Now the Lord said to Moses, one more plague I will bring on Pharaoh and on Egypt. After that, he will let you go from here. When he lets you go, he will surely drive you out from here completely. Speak now in the hearing of the people that each man ask from his neighbor and each woman from her neighbor for articles of silver and articles of gold. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Furthermore, the man Moses himself was greatly esteemed in the land of Egypt, both in the sight of the Pharaoh's servants and in the sight of the people. And Moses said, Thus say the Lord, about midnight I am going out in the midst of Egypt. And all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die. From the firstborn of the Pharaoh who sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of the slave girl who is behind the millstones, all the firstborn of the cattle as well. Oh, I didn't know that. Moreover, there shall be a great cry in all the land of Egypt, such as there has not been before, and such as shall never be again. But against any of the sons of Israel a dog shall not even bark, whether against man or beast, that you may understand how the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. And all these your servants will come down to me and bow themselves before me, saying, Go out, you and all the people who follow you, and after that I will go out. And he went out from the Pharaoh in hot anger. Then the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh will not listen to you, so that my wonders will be multiplied in the land of Egypt. And Moses and Aaron performed all these wonders before Pharaoh, yet the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the sons of Israel go out of his land.
Okay. So, now we're talking about why do you think?
Okay.
What?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Who's Aaron?
Aaron is Moses' brother.
Okay. 'Cause
Okay.
I
He
know.
followed him through from where he was. He went to meet him, and then all these plagues. And this is a very cool story. Yes,
Yeah.
I would recommend you go back over this and start in the book of Exodus to read this, because the plagues were like, why
Weren't there,
was
like-
Pharaoh always getting his heart
Weren't
hard?
there like 10 plagues?
Yeah, there were 10. So go back and read this again, but I don't have time to talk about it because I have to show you how this correlates with the Last Supper. So, but the thing is, why do you think God kept trying to harden his heart? Why do you think he wasn't submissive?
Well, he was a Pharaoh.
What
but
was the reason? Who was in control?
God,
Who thought he was in control?
the Pharaoh.
The Pharaoh.
So he was teaching him what? Lessons? Lessons.
He was giving him tribulations in order to.
Yes. And
Okay.
in a way, the end times is very similar to
Yeah.
that, because God is doing all these crazy things in the world. Why? To wake people up, to get them on, to get right with them,
Mhm.
right? Because who wants to burn in hell for eternity?
No one.
No one. But if you're not going with the Bible, you ain't gonna make it. The Bible is the way to heaven. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so then we talked about the locust, we talked about this, now the death of the firstborn. Okay, we talked about darkness in the land.
Yep.
What did the Israelites have that Pharaoh did not have?
Oh, I don't remember. My brain just lost it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what.
I mean, they were dedicated to God.
Well, the ninth plague, they had light in their homes. Did the Egyptians have any light for
No.
3 days? They couldn't even light a candle or a fire in their houses. They were literally like blind people, and they couldn't go outside because it was so pitch black. They couldn't even light a flame, light something. They had servants, for God's sakes. They couldn't get the fire to start to get the light. Why? Because God blinded their people. They had to blind them.
So,
Just like Alaska. When
Science.
Alaska goes so far,
Yeah.
6 months black.
Yes.
Until
Well,
dark.
no. Science showed that no, this wasn't a typical darkness. This isn't one like
No.
Well,
this wasn't
yeah.
like an eclipse. It's ashes. It's from a volcano erupted so far, and fallout, which is what all that smoke and stuff is, will literally come and smother everything.
But they couldn't see.
And
To
that's why.
even, they were literally blind.
Yeah,
Okay, but they're
they will
blind
do that.
spiritually too.
Yeah.
They weren't saved. Okay, these people had no relationship with God. They didn't know God. I mean, it wasn't until the Last Supper that we actually go into Gentiles getting baptized and Gentiles getting saved.
You
And
used the right word. I'm so proud of you.
yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, we're talking now. We're going to transform. And so the Egyptians, the Israelites were protected.
Yes.
You know what protected them?
God.
Okay, how did he protect them?
Honestly.
Right here, I'm going to show you a picture. Right here. What did they do to protect God? Because this all correlates. What is
Head
that?
across.
What
I
is
can't
that?
see what you're pointing at.
What
I don't
is
know what I'm pointing at. What are you pointing at?
it? It looks like a door, doesn't it?
What, across? Oh,
Uh,
that? Yeah, that's a door.
It's a door. Okay, what does the God tell them to do when the death of the firstborn is going to happen?
Oh, they do the paint.
the blood.
The blood of baby lambs.
Okay,
That I can't remember the name
but the lambs had to be pure.
of. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to go forward. They went up and did the blood of a lamb.
Yep.
Firstborn, the lambs had to be pure. And so that is Jesus dying on the cross. That is the before
It's
the
equivalent.
it is a
It's an
futuristic thing. So you imagine this blood, it's dripping in front of the Gentiles, in the
Israelites.
the Israelites' doors, and here comes death. It's creeping through the streets. What does it do? It leaves the Israelites alone. And while they're doing the Passover, God tells them, roast the lamb, don't put it in water, keep the intestines, keep the organs in the lamb,
Mm-hmm.
and be with another family and save the lamb. Eat the lamb. They had to eat bitter herbs. Why do you think they had to eat bitter herbs? Because this was a torture experience for all of them. It was a bitterness. They were living in Egypt and bitterness had come into their lives. So they're eating the bitter herbs and they're having the lamb and it had to be roasted and there was a ceremony that went with it. Passover is about the future Jesus Christ dying onto the scene. So what you need to understand is the blood of the lamb saved the Israelites.
Yep.
And that's why they celebrate this ongoing Passover in the Jewish thing. Now we're going to go into the Passover.
Jewish religion,
Yep. Now we're going to go to the next part, which is the Last Supper.
which is where?
The Last Supper is, we're going to go to Matthew 16, 17 through 35.
Matthew. You put Matthew 26.
Matthew 26, 17 through 35.
There. No, it's Mark. Hold on. Where's
That's Mark.
Matthew?
So we're going to read that, and we're
Matthew's
going
New Testament, right?
yes, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the first
There
four.
it is. I found it.
Okay.
Matthew, yeah.
Okay.
Matthew, Mark.
Who wants to read that one?
I'll read it. But
Okay.
give me a second. I gotta first find it. The chapter.
And then you can find Mark, and you can read Mark 14, 12 through 26. And then I'll read Luke, or unless you want to just take one scripture. Do you want to do one scripture, Bobby Joe?
Whatever is easier for you.
Luke 22, 3, or you want to do the 6 or 8,
I would. Yeah.
whatever you want to do.
No one cares.
Okay. Luke to what?
Luke 22, verse 3.
Mark.
And I can
Matthew
do Mark.
26,
I can do Mark.
17 through 35. Okay. All right. You want to get me?
Yep.
Turn around. There you go. Okay. Matthew chapter 26, verses 17 through 35. Okay. Oh, I see. Now, on the first day of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus, saying, "Where do you want us to prepare for you to eat the Passover?" And he said, "Go into the city to a certain man, and say to him, the teacher says, my time is at hand. I am to keep the Passover at your house with my disciples." And the disciples did as Jesus had directed them, and they prepared the Passover. Now, when evening had come, he was reclining at the table with the 12 disciples. And as they were eating, he said, "Truly, I say to you that one of you will betray me."
Mm-hmm.
And being deeply grieved, they each one began to say to him, "Surely not I, Lord." And he answered and said, "He who dipped his hand with me in this bowl is the one who will betray me. The Son of Man is to go just as it is written of him. But woe to the man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been good for the man if he had not been born." And Judas, who was betraying him, answered and said, "Surely it is not I, Rabbi." He said to him, "You have said it yourself." And while they were eating, Jesus took some bread, and after a blessing, he broke it and gave it to the disciples and said, "Take, eat, this is my body."
Mm-hmm.
And when
Okay, stop for a minute.
Okay,
So he takes the bread. Oh,
all right, this is communion.
just show me. We're doing the communion. Take this and eat this. This is my body, which is given to you. So we're practicing. We're actually doing.
I've done communion.
I know, but we're actually trying to put it to the thing. So.
You take my body, okay?
Mm-hmm. Are we ready for the wine now? Are you saying the wine, or are you?
I'm saying the wine. It's just I got food in my mouth.
Okay.
Give me a minute.